Hello, everyone. My name is Luisa Wojtowicz-Waga. I would like to welcome you to our next EduNation Global webinar on behalf of the whole EduNation team. Let me tell you a couple of words about EduNation. We are a teacher training project created in Poland, in Warsaw, in the year 2016. So this winter will mark our 9th birthday, a decade next year. So that's quite unthinkable, but it is true. And EduNation was created by two teacher trainers and teachers, myself and Anna Popławska, that you probably have already met in one of our EduNation or EduNation Global webinars. Mainly what we do is we train teachers, academic managers, school owners, directors, and people involved in education in Poland, but also outside Poland quite happily. We have got a lot of teachers who train with us from the Czech Republic, from Slovakia, from Ukraine, from Spain, Italy, Lithuania, Latvia. So a lot of people who would like to learn with us. Today, we are going to have a webinar on smart NoPrep activities, and I will be very happy to be running it in just a minute. Let me just tell you that this webinar will be more or less 60 minutes long. We try not to make our webinars longer than that. And when I start delivering what you came here for, so the slides of merit and all the information and the ideas that I have prepared for you, I will stop looking so much at what's going on in the comment section because it distracts me very much. But we have got an assistant who will say hello to you in a moment. And our assistant will be very happy to answer all your questions related to certificates or recordings or anything that you feel that should be answered. She will answer. So thank you very much for your presence again. So let me just tell you one word about myself before I start. I have been an English teacher for over 25 years now, and I have been an academic manager for over 20 years now, and a teacher trainer for a very, very long time. And I have taught people of all ages. Right now, I teach mainly adults and older teenagers, young adults as well. And I believe in smart work, smart, effective work. And I would like to show teachers that we do not need to spend hours and hours on end preparing to our lessons. What we need is smart work. We need tools and we need information on how not to overwork and not how not to overplan, but simply how to work in a way that will help you teach spontaneously and effectively. But of course, the word effective is extremely important for me. I'm obsessed about effectiveness, both in life and in running business and in teaching. So I have a feeling that today's and what I would like to show you is that you can have activities, you can plan activities, or you can not even sometimes not plan, but spontaneously present some activities to your students that will be effective, will work on their memory, will strengthen their memory, and this is what we will be talking about right now. So you will learn today. This is the aim that I have got for us for the coming minutes of our meeting. You will learn what these non-prep activities are and what they are not. I will show you some activities which are super simple. And also, I have a feeling that you will recognize some of them. Some of the activities I will show you are activities that I'm sure you have already done, but probably you have forgotten. And I will, or maybe you have thought, I'm not going to do that because these are quite old-fashioned activities. And I have a feeling that the old-fashioned, I don't know, share your thoughts on that with me here. But I have a feeling that old style, old school activities are extremely effective, sometimes much more effective than activities which are based on some fancy applications online. So this is what we will work on today as well. And of course, you will discover how to create your own quick and effective activities. So what are smart NoPrep, sometimes NoPrep, sometimes low prep activities? They are very simple, super simple. They require no prior preparation. So you don't need to be sitting at home and thinking for hours on end on what to do with your students. They will have this effect on your students that they will energize them and they will stimulate them. They can be introduced in any moment, at any moment of any of your lessons, and in reality with any age group. Of course, I'm not so much with kindergarten children because this is a very specific age group, but starting from children, first classes of primary school, and then older kids, teenagers, young adults, also professionals learning language. They can be introduced in any of these language or student groups, and they will have high educational value. So I like the idea very much of something that I don't really need to prepare for, and it is very simple, and it will energize my student, and it will have a high educational value. So that's great. So there will be a lot of pluses for you using such activities. Of course, saving time. Of course, showing your flexibility, showing also feeling that I'm not a slave to my plan, that if I see that my plan, my lesson scenario is not really going in the way that it should be going, or I felt it would go in that direction, but my students are too tired, but my students are not in the mood, but my students, this is simply not their day to day. I'm not a slave to my script, to my lesson plan. I can change something. I can spontaneously introduce something else because I'm free and I'm flexible. And what I like about these activities also very much is that they show me as a teacher that I can trust myself. And I don't need to have this. Of course, it's a good idea. I'm not saying that it's not to have a written lesson plan, but I don't need to be a slave to it. And if something goes not in the direction that I wanted it to go into, I can change something and it will be okay. I can trust myself. I'm a professional teacher. Very, very good feeling. But also these low prep or no prep activities, they have a lot of advantages for students too. The ideas that I will show you, they will increase their interaction. They will increase the interaction between students. So they will not be activities that you will ask students to write something or to work on their own, but they will introduce and enhance interaction and engagement of the students. They will catch their attention. So if you see that the students are falling asleep or they're really tired, they will increase their engagement, and they will also give them a lot of practice in spontaneous communication. So this is something super cool. And the idea today is that I will show you some ideas of activities in different categories of situations in the classroom. So like icebreaking activities, or lesson topic introduction, or grammar, or vocabulary. So different areas or zones of interest of a teacher, and in each of these activities you will get a couple or a few activities which are super simple, sometimes old school, but something that is very effective, and also something that has this waking impact on impact on your students. So when to introduce such activities? One thing, sometimes you will have an unexpected change in your lesson plan. Sometimes something happens. Sometimes the student says, well, I was supposed to prepare something, but I haven't. Sorry, I will do it for next time. And you base your whole lesson on the fact that they should prepare something. Then, of course, this is an expected change in your lesson plan. When you need a warm-up, when you need a warm-up activity or a wrap-up activity, that is these activities will come in handy. When you want to energize your class, you can see that they are falling asleep, that this is minute 30, and in minute 30 most students already start feeling a bit less energized than at the very beginning of the lesson. When you want to boost this energy, when you want to boost their spontaneity, when you want to boost engagement, boost interaction. But also sometimes this is the reality of Polish schools, both public and private, and I'm sure the reality of any school that you work for. Sometimes you will discover that you need to cover for someone last minute, that you have just received a last minute substitution. So in that moment, when you have this repertoire of NoPrep activities, this will save the lesson, because it will not be, these will not be activities that are a waste of time, that would be, I don't know, coloring for 60 minutes if it's a lesson, if it's a language lesson, but they will give you a possibility to offer students something of value. So let's think about and let's talk about examples. The first examples of NoPrep language warm-ups. I told you that these activities that I'm going to show you will be divided into these zones of interest for the teacher. So the first zone of interest are warm-ups, and no matter what age group your students are, something called a word chain will always be interesting as a 3-minute warm-up for your students. A word chain is a very simple activity in which you give a word, and the word has the initial letter and the last letter, and the last letter needs to be the initial letter of the next word. So if I say alphabet and you say theater, then of course this is the idea of the word chain, and then the next person needs to give a word that starts with letter E, because theater's last letter is E. And this is the simplest version of a word chain. Now, I like making this activity a bit more complicated, knowing that we covered phrasal verbs with my students. I can tell them we will do the word chain, but the words need to be related with the phrasal verbs that we covered last time. Or we covered words related to home interior design, so the words need to be related to the home interior design. Sometimes I will ask them, I will give you a word, and your task is the next, not to give me the word, but to give me the definition. So I say horse, and your task is to give me the definition of that word, starting with the letter E, because the letter E is the final. Of course, here students would need to get a visual prompt at the very beginning, because maybe the definition, the instruction could be a bit more complex or complicated. So I say horse, you say energetic animal. Then the next person again needs to give a word starting with L, because an animal finishes with L. And then the next person says llama. Then the fourth person needs to say start something that starts with A, animal with a long neck and thick fur. And then the next person needs to give an animal starting from the letter R, and so on. So here about word chains, you have lots and lots of options. It can be just words if the level is low, or you can make some kind of complication or if you want to revise vocabulary, then it needs to be words related to, for example, something that we covered last week. Now, an activity that I like doing very much, and this is a no prep or low prep activity, depending on how you approach it, are 5-second answers. So this is something that I like doing as a warm-up. And I expect from my students a very, very quick language reaction. So if they just start a lesson, they haven't woken up yet, I tell my students, okay, so we're doing 5-second answers, and I'm just throwing questions, asking questions at them, very short, very simple, but also requiring a very, very specific answer. So the question, for example, will be, what's your favorite food? Or name 3 things you can see in this room, or what's the opposite of hot, or something that I want them to review at the after last lesson, after last week, after last month. The student has a maximum of 5 seconds to answer. I like working. I know that some teachers don't like it that much, but I like working with timers very much. So in my both live classroom and online classroom, I have the timer made visible to my students, and they see how much time they've got left. I know that some teachers don't like it because they say that it stresses students out, but I am of a different opinion. So I like it, and I can see that it energizes my students and speeds things up. So I said that this is a no prep or low prep activity because what I like doing is I like having a box with these 5-second questions. So that I don't need to think about it very much, although coming up with a question to answer is not a problem. But I like just very, very quickly taking out or selecting questions from my box and answering these and expecting students to answer these. So all the examples or sample questions or instructions that you see on the slides, like what's your favorite food, name 3 things you can see in this room, what's the opposite of hot, give me a verb that starts with S. I can prepare 30, 40, 50 such 5-second answer questions, and I will just have them and very, very quickly just randomly select the question, ask a student, expect an answer, ask the next one, ask the next one, ask the next one, and then move on to my lesson. Now we will move on. So that was about the warm-ups. Now let's look at spontaneous grammar practice, something that we don't need to prepare for. Sentence relay is an activity in which all students need to stay focused, because at one point it will be their turn to take over the sentence. So I start a sentence, or I ask a student to start a sentence. For example, if we are covering the present perfect, I will say I have, and then the next. So because it's a relay, then the turn goes to one of my students, and he or she says I have never, Then the next student says, I have never been. Then the next student says, I have never been to. Then the next student says, I have never been to Spain. Then I say, I have never been to Spain, but, and so on and so forth. I like doing this. It's a super simple activity which needs and requires absolutely zero preparation, but it strengthens the memory of the students, and it makes their commands of a structure very, very, very automatic. Because we do that, and you can do this kind of activity for 2-3 minutes in every lesson. It energizes students, and if you randomize students, so they don't take over one by one, but you point who should answer next, you will catch their attention, and they will be with you all the time. So I like doing this. This is a very traditional activity, very old school activity, but I really have a feeling that it works. It works miracles for automatization of structures, for memory. And I have a lot to say about how to work on students' memory and deep learning, and on to making it automatic, to memorize it better, and to catch attention. So 3 things that you receive, that you get from such a simple, zero, no prep activity. And the second very simple one is changing one word. For example, let's imagine that we practice the present continuous with the students. I say a sentence, she's reading a book. Students' task is to change one word. So it's a kind of drill, but for which you need absolutely no preparation whatsoever. I believe in drills very much, because drills make students structure commands more automatic. So I like drills, which again, they are not that fashionable anymore in language classroom. And I have a feeling that it would be a good idea from time to time to come back to old style activities, and students really enjoy these no technology, low technology student activities too. I'm not saying that as the only ones, but as a option. Why not? So I say she's reading a book. Student's task is to change just one word. So he or she says she's reading a newspaper. Then again, I point whose turn it is. He is reading a newspaper. Then the next person changes. But again, we operate on the same sentence. Only one word at each turn is changed. Now, there comes a time in which we need ice-breaking activities, and now it's summer, so you probably don't teach that much, but in a couple of weeks, you will start teaching again, and you will have new groups. So for the ice-breaking activities, sometimes will require some preparation from us, but I would like to show you that you can actually do ice-breaking activities with new groups in a totally zero prep, no prep, sometimes low prep, but mainly no prep way. So one activity that I like doing with students is paper airplanes. Students receive, so all my preparation is just bringing sheets of paper to the classroom. I ask students to write one question or one fact about themselves on a piece of paper. Everyone does it. It works better when groups are a bit bigger, so like 6, 8, 10 students plus. Everyone writes something about themselves on a sheet of paper. Then they fold it into an airplane, and I say 3, 2, 1, go, or 3, 2, 1, fly, and airplanes fly in the air. Now, whoever catches an airplane, they must either read the content. They read the content, what has been written on this airplane aloud, and they either answer the question, if there is a personal question, for example, what's your favorite color, what's your favorite dessert, where did you spend your summer? So they open it and answer the question, or they catch the airplane, and if there is a fact about someone, they try to guess who this fact is about. And this energizes students very much. So I hope, especially the younger ones, like primary school, teenagers, I'm sure that but also adults, why not? If I have a feeling that adults like good fun too. And the next idea for a NoPrep icebreaking activity, you ask each student, each course taker, to choose one word that describes their mood today. For example, coffee, and the second person says rainy, and the third person says battery, or something else. And the group guesses why they have chosen that word. So a student says, the word that describes my mood today is coffee. And people say, are you tired? Are you sleepy? Do you need coffee? Of course, these questions will not be very deep questions. They are only meant to break the ice between students. Battery. Oh, why battery? Do you feel energetic? Do you feel like I'm sure that you know the rabbit from Battery. Can't remember the name. Maybe you will remind me what was the name of the battery company whose toy was the little rabbit. So sometimes Duracell, I think. Oh, that was okay. Now I remember the Duracell. So someone can ask, so are you feeling like a Duracell rabbit? And so on. Now we come to the moment in the lesson that we need to introduce the lesson topic. And when we introduce the lesson topic, sometimes we prepare something, but why not use a zero prep or no prep activity? One activity that I use very often, because I like eliciting as much knowledge from my students as possible. So I'm the kind of teacher that I don't like really that much giving or instructing or explaining if there is someone in the classroom that can do it instead of me. And I believe that in a lot of situations that a lot of students in the classroom are able, or at least some students, or at least one student in the classroom is able to explain something, introduce something, and so on. So this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying not to work that much or overwork during the lesson. So one of these ideas that I use to elicit as much from my students as possible is the Wordstorm. Imagining that our next lesson topic is travel, I ask students to do this brainstorm, which is a word storm, really at least 30 words related to travel. And we draw a mind map on the board or in students' notes. And students come and they write down words that are related to travel. And at the same time, I will ask students after that activity has finished, look at the words now. Do you understand all the words? All the words came from the students, but of course, student A may know a word that student B doesn't. So this also works not only on reviewing and brainstorming, warming students up towards that topic, but also some new words can be introduced for some students. Now, introducing the lesson topic. If my lesson topic will be advertising, then I can write on the board the sentence, the dumbest advertising I've seen recently is, and I'm asking my students to work in pairs and tell one another something, an advertising that they have seen or they have heard on the radio. The radio ones are particularly dumb sometimes. And then they refer or retell to the class. And we can have a short competition on the dumbest advertising that they have seen or they have heard. And something that I like doing very much, and I honestly do very, very regularly with my students, is a 1-minute challenge. Again, imagining that our next topic will be theater. I will ask my students to talk in pairs for 1 minute about theater. If it's going to be vegetables or health, again, 1 minute to talk about health, or sometimes I will ask them a more precise, more specific question, sometimes very, very broad question. And they've got 1 minute. And again, I time them. I told you a minute ago that I like having a timer shown to my students so that they can see exactly how much time left they've got. And I use this timer very, very often. And in this 1 minute challenge, I will always show my students that the timer is there so that they hurry up and don't waste time. Now, when I want to practice vocabulary, because we have just finished activities related to vocabulary, or because we are introducing a new lesson and I want to see how much they remember, one activity would be a lexical bingo from the previous lesson. Creating a bingo requires no preparation whatsoever. So I will tell my students, all right, so last lesson, we covered phrasal verbs. Draw a grid 3x3 in your notebook. Fill it out with phrasal verbs from last lesson. Just make sure that there are 9 if the grid is 3x3. And then I open the book and I start giving definitions of these phrasal verbs, and students who see a phrasal verb that I have just defined in their grid, they cross it. When they have got 3 ideas crossed horizontally, vertically, or diagonally, they shout bingo, and they have won. Again, I like doing this very much, and maybe not every lesson or every week, but once in a while, I ask students to do the bingo with us. And again, it requires absolutely zero preparation, both from me and from my students, and it works very well on their memory. We do word chains related. Word chains I've already mentioned to you, but word chains related to a particular vocabulary area. And also we do an activity, and this is something that I do very often with my students, master memory. Master memory is a memory word chain in which I say a word, you say a word, my word and your word. Third student says my word, the student's A word, student's B word, and then again the next person needs to say 4 words, next person needs to say 5 words. This activity requires only no preparation whatsoever, 2-3 minutes, and you will see that everyone is focusing to remember what the words were, especially if you randomize who the next person is going to be. And you will also see that students will help one another. When someone can't remember what the previous person's word was, other students help out and whisper to the student what the next word should be. So this is something that works very well on memory. It's a good refresher, but also if you want your students to focus on what's going on, because you can see that, I don't know, they got distracted, something happened, they're tired, they're not focusing so much. This activity will make everybody focus on what's going on in the classroom. Now, I've shown you quite a few activities which require zero preparation. I'm sure that most of them will be activities that you have at least heard of, even if or seen, or maybe tried some time ago. But as you can see, these are not technology based. They are totally zero prep, no prep activities that you can introduce in with practically every class, every age. But what I would like to talk to you about in the last section of this webinar is being afraid of improvisation. And I know that some teachers, especially those that are just starting their adventure with teaching, that they would be afraid of not having these activities prepared, just coming up with them spontaneously in a lesson or during a lesson. Well, I would like to encourage you very much to start trusting your knowledge and start trusting your intuition, because even if you have very little experience, you have experience, and you have, I'm sure that you have skills to quickly find a solution. If something happens in a lesson that is not entirely according to the plan, if you know your lesson goals, even if you change something, even if you improvise, even if you decide that, well, probably a good idea will be to introduce a different activity because I was sure that students will remember something and they really don't remember. So I need to come up with something, no prep, but something that will remind them, for example, the structures or the grammar or the vocabulary. If you know what the lesson plan is, you know what is most important. Sometimes you will change that plan and spontaneously do a different kind of activity, and it is really, really okay. A good idea is to have a few universal activities up your sleeve, which means just at the very beginning of a week, remind yourself of a few no prep activities. Have a short list somewhere in your notebook. So if something goes not according to the plan, you will always have a backup plan in the form of these notes somewhere in your notebook. If I can see that my students are struggling or they need to be woken up, then I will just open and quickly, if I don't trust my memory so much, I trust my notebook more. And of course, I'm looking at my students' reaction. Look at your students' reaction, watch it. And if you see that something is not working, just let's not push an activity that you thought would be a good idea, and let's introduce instead no prep activity that will be a better idea. And always have a checklist how to be prepared for every lesson, even if you know that you have got a list of no prep activities. First of all, know the lesson plan, know the lesson goal, know what the lesson idea is, why, what students will be learning, what you expect them to have learned during the lesson. Have a backup plan, so at least 2-3 universal no prep activities to introduce if you feel that, for example, the students worked too fast and all the lesson plan that you have prepared has been covered and 20 minutes are left. Have some spare materials, so have several activities for conversation, for word games, for open questions. Sometimes you will use them when the lesson finished earlier than you planned. Sometimes you will see that students really are not up to an activity that you want to do because they're tired, because the weather outside is not that good, because they haven't slept well, or for a million other reasons. Trust your flexibility. So just be ready to adjust the pace and be ready to adjust the format to work with students' mood and with students' energy. Also, the ideas that I showed you today were very traditional, I would say. So they did not require absolutely any interactive resources. If there is no energy at school because of some fault or some situation, some energy problem, you will be able to do a lesson knowing all these no prep, no energy, unplugged activities, but also know your interactive resources, know where to quickly find inspiration if something goes not according to the plan. And also, of course, the best source of information is the group. Know your group, know your students' needs, know your students' preferences, and it will always make it easier to tailor the activities to their needs. And I would like to tell you that if you need any more ideas for NoPrep activities or low prep, but mainly NoPrep, I have prepared, some time ago, I prepared an ebook with 200 ready-to-use activities for foreign language teachers. And this ebook is exactly what we are talking about today. So sometimes a lesson will go not according to the plan. Sometimes your students will just not react very well to what you have planned, or you can see that they are not in the mood. So this ebook will help you very much, and it has been divided into chapters. And let me show you what the chapters are. I will scroll quickly. So the chapters are as follows. The first chapter shows you warm-up activities that require no preparation, icebreaking activities that require no preparation, introducing lesson topic with no prep, vocabulary games with no prep, games for reinforcing new words, just pick and teach, creative ways to review material. The seventh chapter is about grammar games with no props. And the eighth one is about grammar games with props, but the props are the things that everybody has got in their bag or backpack, so like a sheet of paper or pencil, etc. We've got activities for analyzing sentence structures. In the 10th chapter, reinforcing grammar in an engaging way. In the 11th chapter, conversation topics for every occasion. In the 12th chapter, communicative exercises for every occasion, pair and group work for beginner levels. And then we've got chapter 13, situational role plays with no planning required, quick reading and listening, how to use authentic materials spontaneously. Then we've got chapter 15, reading and listening ideas for fast tracks with text recordings, again, with no preparation required, games requiring movement and interaction, but requiring no preparation from you, rescue ideas for tough moments when your lesson is getting out of control. Then we've got chapter 18, spontaneous ways to energize the lesson, the classroom. And we've got chapter 19, adapting activities to students' levels, modifying activities based on levels, but again, in a way that requires no preparation from you, and universal tasks for any level. And now this ebook that I'm showing you, it comes in an English version. It's called On the Spot, Ready or Not. It also comes in the Polish version, Mądre zadanie bez przygotowania. And today, what I would like to show you is that for those of you who have come to our webinar and is with us live, we have got a promo code that is active until midnight. The promo code is WEBI50, and it should be written down as one word. And if you click on this address, you will be able to buy this ebook that is available just after the purchase with a promo code WEBI50, minus 50 PLN or minus 12 euro, depending in which currency you're buying the ebook. Thank you very much for attending today's webinar. I hope it was a nice time for you, and I hope you will use some of the ideas that I have shown you. Also, have a look at the ebook. I'm sure that you will find a lot of inspirations, well, 200 ideas, so a lot of inspirations for your future lessons with no preparation necessary. Thank you very much, and see you guys very, very soon. Good night.